Hello. Okay. So now we're going to talk about amateur football trials. I think by far, this is the highest requested question. I mean, there's actually already a question in the chat by Mr. Prince Joe about the trial period, how long it is, and the cost. Okay. So the amateur football trials they're a little bit more complex depending on where you're from, depending on the level of the player, and this takes a little bit more risk. Okay, and let me mention why. When it comes to an amateur football trial, there seems to be a lot of players think that they're going to come and they're going to be seen and they're going to sign for Olympiacos or PAOK or a big club, when in reality it's a lot more difficult than that. Our amateur football trials are intended more to see, hey, do I have what it takes to be a player? Do I have what it takes to play in Europe, right? And a lot of times players come and they find out that they don't. Okay. So let me get a little bit into it. When it comes to the amateur football trials, we have our trial, and there's actually a form on our website you can fill out if you want to, fill it out from the beginning by yourself so that you actually guarantee a spot. Believe it or not, even though we do need a lot of players to come and play, there is not a lot of spots when it comes to every team. In Greece, there is a certain number of spots that is reserved for players that are not Greek at the amateur level. This changes in the national amateur level, and then the professional level. Obviously, it changes, but we're talking about amateur players. Okay, when it comes to the amateur player, we have the players come, right? They pay an agency fee. We have the players come. We have the players actually arrange their own accommodation and food, right? That's not included with the trials. And the trials we suggest are for minimum of 3 weeks, a minimum of 3 weeks. And sometimes it goes into a month, maybe closer to 5 weeks. The trials also, we recommend that there are particular times during the season when the trials are the best option for a player. Usually this is right before the season starts, so anywhere in the late summer, depending on how the Football Federation is feeling that year. Because last year they postponed the league for quite a while, so even players who came here to trial for the preseason actually had to wait an extended period of time to train with teams. So again, it's on a case-by-case basis, year-by-year basis. Football is very, very fluid. It's very volatile. Every year, everything changes, right? FIFA can say something. UEFA can say something. The Greek Football Federation can say something different that actually changes the procedure in which we act, but we're always adapting, right? We keep our ear to the wire to see how we can best help players, okay? So we recommend between 3 and 4 weeks for a player at a particular time, usually right before preseason, because that's when teams are starting to look at players and see if a player has a level. Once the player comes, we usually make sure that the player can rest for a little bit. For example, for me, coming from where I'm from in the United States is a 10-hour difference. Okay, 10 hours, which means that when I land in Greece, my body is on the opposite, right? So there's absolutely no way I can come to Greece and the next day train or be at my best. It's impossible. It just doesn't work, right? So the first 4 or 5 days, I'm going to use myself as an example. I used to recover, right? To get my body to adjust to the new time zone, to get my body to adjust to the new food. And that takes a while. For players who are closer to our time zone, it's a little bit better, but we still recommend a day or two to adapt to the climate, to adapt to the food, and obviously rest. After that, depending on the year. Again, it's on a case-by-case basis, year-by-year basis, but I'm going to speak about the most current year. That way, that's the most up-to-date, accurate information that we have. We bring the player to train with Gregory's club, okay? From there, we can see at what level the player is, what is his fitness level, can he play, right? Can he train, right? And from there, we can actually take him to different, to train with different clubs, depending on what level we see. Usually there's friendly games, and friendly matches are usually one of the best places where we can see at what level the player is, okay? Before all of this happens, right, the player needs to come here legally, right? Legally. For a lot of countries, I'll use myself as an example again. When I actually came to trial with ID Soccer way before I became a footballer playing here, I came to trial and I used my American passport. With the American passport, I'm able to be in Greece specifically, because we have to get very specific about countries, about different consulates, different. It gets very specific. But as an American, I'm able to come to Europe and be here for an extended period of time without needing a special visa, right? This is the Visa C. The Visa C is a tourist visa. As an American, I get 3 months to be in Greece without having to get another visa. But after 3 months, I have to leave the Schengen zone, the European Union, for 3 months before I can come back for 3 months. Okay, so there's no way I can play football if I have to leave every 3 months. When it comes to other countries specifically, like Gregory was saying, a lot of our clients and the footballers that we're helping come from Africa. There's different, for every country, believe it or not, there's a different process. From some countries, the player is very easily able to get a Visa C. From some countries, it's impossible. We've tried multiple times with different embassies, with different ambassadors. We have really good relationships with them, and it's impossible. And why is that? This is because some countries in Africa, some countries in Asia, maybe even South America, because the policies change every year, are considered high migration risk, which means that there's a potentiality for a player, for a person to get a tourist visa, come to our country, right? The country of Greece, and leave, right? And they'll find their way into Italy or France, or they'll stay here and they'll never go back. So these things are out of our hands. I'm explaining it from the perspective of someone from the outside looking at the policies that all of these international countries have in place for each other, but unfortunately is not something that we can control, right? That's all to say, in some countries, we can get a tourist visa right away. So if you contact us from your country, right away, we can get you a tourist visa. We'll go over and explain the plan as to how the trials work, and you can come. Which brings me back to where I was at before. So you got your visa, you're in the country, you have your accommodation, your food. We can help you and take you to the trainings. We can take you to some of the friendly games. And here is where we can identify, right? For an amateur player with a tourist visa, the Visa C, to come and trial in 4 weeks and stay, they have to be signed by a professional club. That's the only way that a player can stay, okay? And we want to be extremely honest and transparent. That is extremely rare. 99% of the time, the player does not have the level to play at the professional level. They do not, including myself. Okay, I'm not bashing on anyone. I'm not saying like no one's good enough. I was that player. I came here with the aspirations, with the commitment, with the training, with the college football experience, and I came here thinking maybe I could make it at the professional. No way. The level from amateur to professional is a massive jump that is not understood and unable to comprehend unless you're here. Unless you come and they see you, unless you come and train with some of these players, it's impossible to comprehend. So the only way to stay with if you trial is if you go straight to a professional club. Again, this is very difficult, not impossible, right? We hope we find the next Messi, the next Ronaldo, that where I'm playing with the next Ibrahimovic. Like of course we want that, but it's very, very difficult when you haven't had the proper training throughout your entire life to play at that level. Okay, so now we jump into, this is where I'm saying the trial and the visa combined. So let's say, for example, and this actually has happened a few times in the past 6 months, a player says, hey, you know what? I want to come. Gregory was talking about him, the player from South Africa. He said, I'm already in Europe. I want to come trial because I think I can play at the professional level. Gregory and myself, we both advise people, okay, just so you know, it's very difficult. Okay, it's extremely difficult, but possible. So what he did, he trialed, right? He saw that he didn't have what it took to get to the professional level. So he had to go back to South Africa to start the 1-year program, right? But if he hadn't come to trial, he probably wouldn't have realized that the 1-year program was the best way for him to come play in Greece at the amateur level. So this is where the trials combine. Players come, they trial for 3 or 4 weeks, and they'll say, hey, okay, if they really want to continue playing football and grow, they'll say, hey, I'm not good enough to be professional. I have the mind, I understand. I can actually be humble and say, I can't play at the professional level, but with ID Soccer, I can actually stay in Greece and play at the amateur level to the point where I would reach the professional level. That's where I'm at. That's what I did. I came here, I saw that I didn't have the level, but I didn't give up. And I'm back. I'm here. And this time I'm playing at the amateur level because I have the 1-year program and I'm playing football. I'm learning Greek, right? So that's where they combine. The trial might give you the entry point, might have you come and meet us in person to see that we're real. We actually play football. We're actually real people who can help you. And they might say, okay, we see you interact with us. We see how the agency works. We're going back to our country to file for the visa so that we can come back and play at the amateur level. So that's how the amateur football trials work. And that's where we've seen a lot of, misconceptions when it comes to, football is very complex. Football has a lot of information. And from my own experience, I can tell you that football changes quickly, and there's so much information that it takes years to absorb all of the information that you're needed to do what we're doing now, which is why Gregory, started the agency and has all this experience that can help the players come and play football, right? This is by far, from my experience, from my perspective, by far the best program for a player who is not a professional to come join, right? But that's pretty much it when it comes to amateur football trials. It's very difficult to come directly for a trial and sign a contract. That's usually for the professional players, as Gregory was mentioning. But that's how it's been working, and we're seeing success, right? When it comes to that's the amateur football trials in that way. Okay. And with that being said, we have about a minute left, and Gregory is going to jump on real quick. And we're going to close this out so we can start a Q&A session towards the end. Okay.